Dice Kingdoms. This game looks like an RNG hellscape, where your ability to win the game depends entirely on fortune. If you think that you are wrong, see, mechanics like dice introduce risk, and if the only risk in this game was having enough or not enough resources every turn, then this game would suck. But it doesn't, and it's all down to how the developers force the player to plan for and manage incredible disaster. I will explain. You start by placing your castle. If the castle dies, you die. You can build on sand, dirt, rocks and mountains. So where do you put it? And where do you place the tree staring pleasant hands and the farm? It's about how well you understand agency, combat and late game disasters. You are making important decisions from the moment the game begins. We will get into why. Some buildings like farms don't provide any dice but give a fixed benefit or enable you to do something else. Buildings like the pleasant hands provide resources. Resource buildings require food. Not enough food, a random dice providing buildings will shut down, reducing your potential each turn. So roll dice and you will get resources, but one of your dice come up with some resource and a skull. You can't roll any dice with a skull on them, but if you get shafted with other dice, you can roll those. +1 gets added to your disaster bar. You're buying the resources. Your disaster meter is 10 points, and each point you add begins a different disaster. You might think, oh well, what's bad and I should avoid that, but wait a second, because if you have an even number of points, the disaster affects you. If you have an odd number, it affects some other random player. See, you can roll really well, but maybe you get a disaster that will mess you up. Do you roll your good dice to try and get another skull? How many dice to roll? It's possible to reroll twice and get no additional skulls. It's possible to get a worse disaster or change it into a disaster for other players. Maybe you should just eat the disaster instead, taking the good rolls because resources are too important. Some disaster can be mitigated. If adjacent buildings would get plague for a turn, rendering them unable to function if they have a hospital nearby, or the buildings are simply separated by enough space. That disaster be reduced or eliminated completely. That means where you place the buildings is as important as how many you can place at all. You need two resources to build: labor, raw materials like wood and stone, and sometimes money. Here's a problem for you. Labor is also used to remove some disaster effects or to harvest trees or stone on your island. Buildings need to be in the way of your castle as well, because that's your failure condition at any point in the game. When you are attacked, players might just stick and hit and run tactics on exposed external structures, or might target buildings further into your kingdom, forcing the units to essentially attack more until they reach the target. So you can pick one target for your soldier to attack. How many you can attack with depends on how many you have, obviously, but also how many dogs you have. Each dog supports one boat, which holds 8 troops. High risk tactical gambling. Everything in this game folds in over itself, like some sort of tactile design masterpiece. Its simplicity believes in an impressive set of delicious to be made through every turn of the game that the player directly interacts with. The RNG elements add manageable risk, with the possibility for incredible failure or earth-shattering success. It has the one more game effect, Meteor Hell. Meteors are important to the late game because by that point they are due to be dropping often. A meteor wipes out a large chunk of buildings and leaves behind lava. Clear it for 1 skull per square. You need labor to do this. For 200 research, you can turn your units into survey carriers, who sometimes create disaster points for your opponents on death, which means there will be way more meteors, and meteors are extremely devastating. In fact, you can die to a meteor if it hits your castle. Additionally, the double clearance upgrade is not remotely worse. Because if you don't need to clear lava, you must clear 2 lava squares per click, which means you will almost always get a negative disaster, and often take a consecutive meteor. It's better to generate larger quantities of labor and clear squares one at one time. The bug. Some islands spawn with smaller islands adjustment to them, and you can build on those. If you attack someone else's small islands, there is strong chance your boats will not leave the island. Your troops will despawn, and the next turn's attack phase cannot begin. This is avoidable by not attacking sub-islands.